They smiled at your funeral. Not a real funeral, but they planned one for your destiny. They lit candles in the dark. They whispered your name into the wrong kind of prayer. And then they came to breakfast the next morning and hugged you. You felt it, didn't you? That strange heaviness that followed you into rooms where you should have felt safe. That invisible wall between you and your breakthrough. That feeling, deep, ancient, impossible to explain, that something was working against you from the inside. Not from the outside, from the inside. From the table where you ate, from the roof that sheltered you, from the voice that said, "I love you," while the heart behind it whispered something else entirely into the spiritual realm. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not fear-mongering. This is a divine appointment. You didn't find this video. This video found you, because God is not silent tonight. God is surgical. God is specific. And right now, in this very moment, heaven is releasing a word that has your name on it, and the name of the one who has been standing between you and everything you were created to become. You are a chosen one, and chosen ones always have an enemy wearing a familiar face. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will never see your family the same way again. And that is not a curse. That is your liberation. If this message found you at the right time, type 999 in the comments right now. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button, because what's coming next will change everything. Part 1. The prayer that wasn't for you. There is a kind of prayer that looks like love. It uses holy words. It mentions your name. It speaks to God, but it does not ask for your elevation. It asks for your containment. It does not say, "Bless them." It says, in the language only the spirit world understands, "Keep them small." You have been living under that prayer, and you didn't even know it had a name. The Bible is clear, and it doesn't whisper this, it declares it, that there are people in your bloodline who operate as spiritual gatekeepers of limitation. Not because they are monsters, but because they are threatened, because your light reminds them of everything they surrendered, because your calling exposes every excuse they ever made for staying comfortable. Misery doesn't always come with a warning sign. Sometimes misery comes with a home-cooked meal. Sometimes misery comes with a birthday card. Sometimes misery holds your hand at the hospital and secretly hopes you don't recover too fully because a diminished version of you is easier to control. Think about the moments right before your biggest breakthroughs. Think carefully. Who called you with a problem that pulled your focus? Who planted a seed of doubt, disguised as "I'm just being honest"? Who reminded you of your past right when your future was opening? Who spiritually exhaled when you failed? That is not coincidence. That is coordination. The enemy does not always operate from a distance. Sometimes he sets up his headquarters at your dinner table, and the assignment against you is this specific, this intimate, this close, because you are that dangerous, because what God placed inside you is that powerful. The prayer working against you tonight is not random. It has a face. It has a voice you recognize. And right now, in this very moment, heaven is releasing a word that has your name on it, and the name of the one who has been standing between you and everything you were created to become. You are a chosen one, and chosen ones always have an enemy wearing a familiar face. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will never see your family the same way again. And that is not a curse. That is your liberation.
Part 2. The signs you ignored. You told yourself you were imagining things. You talked yourself out of what you felt in your gut. You called your discernment paranoia. You called your spiritual sight overthinking. You buried the evidence under loyalty, under family obligation, under the terrifying possibility that the person you love most is the one holding the knife behind your back. But the signs were always there. Every time you shared a dream, something shifted in their eyes. Not joy, not pride, something closer to calculation. A quick measurement of how your success would make them look, how your elevation would rearrange the hierarchy they had quietly built with you at the bottom. Every time you almost made it, they appeared, with a crisis, with a word, with a need that only you could meet, conveniently timed to pull you back from the edge of your destiny. Every time God opened a door, they handed you a reason to hesitate, and you called it love. You called it family. You called it loyalty. But loyalty to a spiritual assignment against your own life is not a virtue. It is a slow death dressed in Sunday clothes. God showed you, in dreams you dismissed, in that strange grief you felt after being around them, that inexplicable exhaustion, that fog, that sense of having been spiritually drained, even when nothing obviously wrong was said or done. Your spirit was registering what your mind refused to accept. You are not crazy. You are awake. And waking up inside a spiritual war is disorienting. It is painful. It feels like betrayal because it is betrayal, the deepest kind, the kind wrapped in blood and history and shared memories. But you cannot heal what you refuse to name. God is naming it tonight, not to destroy your family, to finally free you. Part 3. Why God waited until now. You have been asking God this question for years. Why now? Why is this being revealed tonight in this season through this message? Why did heaven stay silent while you suffered? Why did God allow the prayer against you to operate for so long without intervention? Because you weren't ready before. The revelation of who your enemy is carries enormous weight. It requires a kind of spiritual maturity that cannot be rushed. It requires that you have enough of God's love inside you to receive the truth without being destroyed by it, without becoming bitter, without building a new prison out of the rubble of the old one. God showed you, in dreams you dismissed, in that strange grief you felt after being around them, that inexplicable exhaustion, that fog, that sense of having been spiritually drained even when nothing obviously wrong was said or done. Your spirit was registering what your mind refused to accept. You are not crazy. You are awake. And waking up inside a spiritual war is disorienting. It is painful. It feels like betrayal because it is betrayal, the deepest kind, the kind wrapped in blood and history and shared memories. But you cannot heal what you refuse to name. God is naming it tonight. Not to destroy your family, to finally free you. You have been asking God this question for years. Why now? Why is this being revealed tonight in this season through this message? Why did heaven stay silent while you suffered? Why did God allow the prayer against you to operate for so long without intervention? Because you weren't ready before. The revelation of who your enemy is carries enormous weight. It requires a kind of spiritual maturity that cannot be rushed. It requires that you have enough of God's love inside you to receive the truth without being destroyed by it, without becoming bitter, without building a new prison out of the rubble of the old one. God waited until you were strong enough to know and still choose love. That is the mark of the chosen one. Not that you are untouchable, but that you are unbreakable. There is also something else God was doing in the waiting. He was documenting. Every prayer prayed against you created a spiritual record. Every word spoken into the darkness with your name attached, heaven heard it, heaven logged it, and the God who said vengeance is mine was not sleeping. He was preparing a response so precise, so complete, so divinely timed that when it comes, there will be no question about who sent it. The delay was not abandonment. The delay was preparation. Your enemies thought time was on their side, but time belongs to God. And tonight, the clock that was paused over your destiny just started again. Every door they closed is about to burst open. Every connection they severed is about to be divinely restored, upgraded even. Every opportunity they spiritually intercepted is about to return to you with compound interest from heaven. This is your moment, not because you earned it perfectly, but because God is faithful. And His faithfulness is louder than any prayer whispered against you in the dark.
Part 4. What you must do now. This is the part where most people freeze, because knowing is different from responding. And God is not just giving you information tonight. He is giving you an invitation to step into a new posture, a new prayer, a new level of spiritual authority over your own life and the assignments launched against it. Here is what you must do. Listen carefully. First, forgive them. Not for their sake, for yours. Unforgiveness is a chain that keeps you tethered to the very energy you are trying to escape. When you forgive, you don't validate what they did. You simply refuse to let their sin become your prison. You cut the spiritual cord. You take back your name from their mouth in the spirit realm. Say it out loud right now. I forgive you, and I release myself from the weight of what you chose to do to me. Second, pray a new prayer. Not a prayer of vengeance, a prayer of displacement. Ask God to remove from your life every influence, known and hidden, that is spiritually misaligned with your destiny. Ask Him to replace every closed door with an open one. Ask Him to convert every curse into a catalyst. Third, stop explaining yourself to people who were never rooting for you. You don't owe them access to your dreams. You don't owe them visibility into your next chapter. Chosen ones move in strategic silence. Let your elevation be the only announcement. Fourth, build a new altar. Consecrate your space. Consecrate your relationships. Become intentional about who you allowed to speak into your life. Pray over your children and sit at your table. The table is being reset tonight. Not everyone gets a seat at the new one, and that is not cruelty. That is discernment. That is survival. That is the chosen one finally choosing themselves. You walked into this video carrying something heavy, a weight you couldn't name, a grief you couldn't explain, a suspicion you were too afraid to follow to its source. But you made it here, and that means something. That means heaven guided your steps tonight. That means the word you received was not an accident, it was an appointment. The tomb is empty now. Every dead thing that was buried in you by someone who prayed against your life, it's finished. The stone has been rolled away. The grave clothes are on the floor, and you are standing in the light of a resurrection that your enemies did not see coming. You are the chosen one. Not because life has been easy, but because you survived what was designed to stop you. Not because you've never fallen, but because something in you always got back up. God did not bring you this far to leave you here. The prayer against you has met its match. The match is God Himself, and He has chosen you. Walk out of this moment differently. Walk out with your head lifted. Walk out with the kind of quiet confidence that only comes from knowing, truly knowing that heaven is on your side. If this message broke something open in you tonight, subscribe right now, because what God has planned for the next message is even more specific, even more powerful, even more for you. Your tomb is empty. Now, walk.